The Call Me Successful podcast, Connect series brought to you by Sell by Legal.
So ladies and gentlemen, very special guest with me today. We've got the Managing Director of Raywhite Commercial Western Sydney, Mr. Peter Vine, and we're coming live from Raywhite Connect to you. Peter, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me.
No, thank you. It's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a while. But mate, I want to get down straight to it. So I consider you one of the godfathers of commercial real estate right now, right? Because the way you're doing commercial is very unique. Everything you do has sort of like a story element behind it. When you're leasing something, when you're selling something, is that something that you come up together as a team? How does that come about?
Most of us have corporate backgrounds, and in corporate businesses, it's very restrictive in terms of what you can do, what you can say, the money you can spend. And part of us starting our own business was very much about how do we want to do things and where are the opportunities? And we believe that there's a huge opportunity in commercial to do things much more like the resi guys do. They tell stories. And at the end of the day, we're in marketing, right? And so we should be able to market ourselves and our brand. And I believe that we have an opportunity to do that bigger and better than anybody else in the commercial market.
So when you started with Raywhite, which is about 6 years ago now, so how many people in the team when you started?
When we bought the business, there was 4 people. We let one of them go quite quickly. Yeah.
And now you build a behemoth. It's a 43, 46 people now. That's a big size for a commercial office.
It is, yeah.
What's led that growth? Is it become organic, or is it something that you've identified different areas, different lines of commercial you want to operate in? What's led that?
We're in a large geographical area. So Western Sydney is a large geographical area. And within commercial, there's often areas of specialization. We have quite a big property management, asset management business that's grown exponentially since we started organically.
What are you up to now in the asset management space?
We manage close to $1 billion worth of commercial assets.
Yeah, wow, that's insane. In such a short amount of time.
Yeah. So look, it's something we're very proud of, but again, I think we're only scratching the surface. And so when we talk about having 40 people in the business, I think that could easily be doubled. And we're not in the business of growing to grow. We want to have the best people in each of the areas where we are. We want to have areas of specialization, but there's an enormous opportunity in our market. There's plenty for everybody. There's still plenty of real estate, and we're not about we are about taking market share, but we really want to be number one in the areas where we decide to compete. So it's predominantly based on people and needing the right people in the seats and growing when the opportunity's there. Finding good people in commercial is challenging. The barrier to entry is pretty high, and the knowledge and market depth that you need to understand about commercial real estate is quite dramatic, particularly when you're working across multiple asset classes.
Can I ask you about your leadership? Because one of the things you've done well from watching from afar seems like you've grown people so well. So, there's people that are doing maybe 10 transactions that I've seen all of a sudden they're doing big, $200 million deals. It's like you sold something for $120 million the other day that we're talking about.
Yeah.
How have you gone from being a commercial agent to now managing the team and leading and growing them? Like you say you apply residential learnings in your approach. Has that helped since you've joined Raywhite?
I think there's a huge amount of marketing and systems and processes that can be taken from the residential model, whereby you repeat the same actions again and again, right? Whether it be in property management or in sales and leasing. The leadership thing is probably I'm a particular kind of leader. I'm an aspirational leader. So I get in and I do the work and I show people how it's done and I take them on the journey with me. That's my style of leadership. I don't micromanage people. It's not in my nature. I'm not interested in doing it. And so, we have my wife who's runs the business and is very much across the finance and legal and all of those things. We have heads of each department who then we all kind of meet together collaboratively, but I let them do their job, which, getting out of somebody's way when they're the expert and I come in and check in with them and work out how we can kind of, push that. From the sales perspective, the biggest thing is I believe that there's a lot of people who have limiting beliefs and they believe that they can only ever do a certain amount of things. And so part of my job is helping people see that there's a greater opportunity out there for them and that there is really no limit to what they can do. And I love the people who I work with and I really genuinely want to see them do well. because a rising tide lifts all boats, right? And so it's a team approach. It's a culture that we've created, and it's a come with me, let's go and take on the world. But also part of that, and I don't know whether it was from, it certainly was from listening to books or whatever it was, but it was, where are we going? Who are we as a business? And that's, I think, without a direction, you're rudderless, right? There's nothing steering the ship. And so we have these pillars that we stand by in terms of what they are within our business. And then we have a very clear goal of who we are and what we want to be. And when the team all see that, it's much easier to go in the right direction.
When you say who you are, there's one thing that strikes me every time I'm in Sydney every couple months. Whenever I'm driving down Western Sydney, like you can see your signs everywhere, right? So when you talk about commercial, there's a lot of classes. Generally speaking, people are more really spread out when they do commercial.
Yeah.
You seem to have sort of mastered this ability to own market share in the Western Sydney corridor, because not many people do that in commercial. It's just like everyone's spread.
Yeah.
How have you concentrated that, and how have you led your team to get them to see that we need market share in a corridor rather than all across Sydney?
Yeah, you're right. A lot of people work in areas of specialization. So be it retail, development sites, commercial, whatever it is. We've chosen to be specialists in Western Sydney. And so it's very much about, we are Western Sydney is our catchphrase. And that's, representative of the team and the multiculturalism that is within our business, because we're a reflection of our market. And so everything we do and the messaging we bring is focused around this geography. And so when you're clear about who you are and where you want to dominate, it's much easier to cut out some of the, and we get distracted. Everybody does. It's very difficult to say no to a listing as a salesperson. But, we do say no because of who we are and who we, believe we are as a business and want to be.
So at the recent Railway Commercial Awards, you've won the #1 auction office.
Yeah.
So is that a new thing that you brought into the area of Western Sydney as well? Was there auction culture there for commercial stuff?
Yeah.
Because it seems like it wasn't really thriving till you guys came along and sort of said, let's just do auctions here.
Yeah. The Railway culture is auction, which I love. I've grown up with, auctions, being in residential. But I truly believe that I came from a corporate background, and I think there was almost a fear of auctions in certain incidences, particularly when you're dealing with larger asset classes. And look, you can't run auction for everything. Some of our institutional buyers, not-for-profits, they need board approval. There's certain times that you cannot do it if that's your key market. But if we're looking at a very vanilla kind of commercial asset, our buyers who are ultra high net worth privates are very comfortable being in that space. We've also taken auctions out of rooms and bought them on site. We auction industrial sheds on site. We auction land on site, retail. We want a crowd. We want people round.
And you're at 9 a.m., you're at 5 p.m. You don't care about the times.
No. And during the week, because we don't want to work on the weekend. No, but if you look at, again, who our buyer profile is, and it's about who is your client, right?
Yeah.
So in residential, people work during the week. For us, our buyers, often this is what they do for a living, or they're their own bosses or whatever they are. And so on the weekend, they don't want to be dealing with me. They don't want to talk to me. So we target it during the time that they would be working. And if somebody can't make it, obviously there's plenty of solutions, with the digital world that we live in, online bidding, whatever. So, but it's very much about, we want people to see us on site. We want people to see us with big groups of people outside properties, and that's what we're there for.
So run me through this, because you've got this real passion for real estate, right? Not just real estate, but like helping your people grow. You've got this passion for commercial real estate, which sometimes it's hard for people to maintain over a long time. You've done it, you're doing it well. Where did you get this idea of real estate? Because from what I've seen, it's a family business for you. It's the family led you to that real estate life.
Yeah. So my grandfather was in real estate. He worked with my dad, and I left school when I was 15, and I started working on reception at my dad's residential real estate business. and I worked on reception for a year, and then I moved into leasing. I fell into it really, but for whatever reason, and I'm a big believer in fate, but I believe I was meant to be doing what I'm doing. And I think I could have done probably what I do in other areas as well. It just so happens that real estate's quite a lucrative business, and the way that my brain thinks and my skill set that I have seems to suit it. The passion comes from, I don't know. I love what I do. I don't know why. There's so many areas where I get to be creative. I get to hunt and kill. Like primal instincts for me. Like going after it is what I'm about. And then there's all different sorts of, the benefit of being a business owner now is I get joy in seeing other people succeed as well. And that probably, comes from a place of I want everybody to do well. And I feel like I need to add value to people, but it's genuinely a deep concern for not only my clients, but also, very much the team that we work with, and building that culture around caring for each other, but truly operating as a team. Like if you look at our business, there'll be 3 people on any listing that we have, whether they've listed it or they're the associate or whatever, we're a team first and foremost. And it's to build everybody's profile, because the more profile we have, the more kind of business that comes in. Yeah.
When we speak about classes of real estate, one of the things that's from looking from afar that I think you've done really well is that you've got different nationalities, different backgrounds as well, doing different things. Is that by design, or is it just happen naturally?
Initially, it was probably by design, in terms of, there was a very strong kind of Asian influence in Sydney. There was a lot of money coming out of Asia. It's sort of slowed up a lot. It's not necessarily coming directly from China anymore. It's coming through other places. But as we went forward, it was more the sorts of people who were coming to interview, like they were Western Sydney people. And so Western Sydney people are like just a melting pot of cultures. And it happened by chance, but it happened to we had no preconception about who we wanted necessarily. Like at the moment, I don't have an Indian person in my team, which I would very much love.
I'd love to join.
Let's go. I thought that's what today was about. I was like trying to impress you, so you'd move to Western Sydney and we'd start this night.
Mate, I'd love to sell something for $100 million. Come on, yeah.
It's not bad, but. There's certain ethnic groups within Western Sydney, and they're growing, right? I mean, if you look at the immigration and the demographics of Western Sydney, the Indian and the Nepalese are the predominant population, moving to Australia. And where do they go? They go to Western Sydney. There's a community. I mean, they go other areas as well, but
everyone starts at Parramatta nowadays. Apparently.
Well, but there's accommodation. There's shops and everything.
Lines,
all of those things. It's very well connected, and so we should be a reflection. I mean, we've got Lebanese, Italian, Vietnamese, Chinese. Like we're like I'm because of that fact, I now look at it and I'm like, this is a real advantage, because I look at our competitors and I'm like. And look, they have very different businesses and perhaps different clients, but our clients are a spectrum of nationalities. And so we should have people who, speak the language, represent like we are them.
Yeah.
And so it's sort of something that once we've identified, we've really lent into, because I believe that, all of these different cultures, religions, sexuality, they all give people a different perspective on the world. And the more perspectives and ideas that we can have, I think it enriches us as a business.
Yeah, because I haven't seen any other commercial agencies doing that. Like it's not
a lot of whiteys. No, sorry, I don't know whether I should say it, but but and again, it's probably them mirroring their bio profile as well, or their client profile. It was a boys' club and a private school boys' club for many years. I think that's changing as well, though, particularly with Anyway, we don't need to go into profiling people, but it's
definitely changing.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because it's a common frustration for me as a landlord, as someone who leases properties in the commercial space, there's no transparency into what's happening in the market.
No.
Like with Resi, you can go and find everything, right?
Yeah.
But how do you deal with that? And does it allow you to, like, the real subject matter experts become the real subject matter experts? Like they can grow better because if you know what's happening in the market.
Yeah.
Because you can't just go and say, this is the lease rates, this is what's happening. You really have to do your research around it.
Absolutely. And I think there's so many asset classes, right? There's commercial, there's retail, there's showroom, there's bulky goods, like
Refrigeration, industrial,
all of those things, right? And so there's no aggregator of that data. There are companies out there now. Arealytics is one that like will pick up any registered lease, and so we're starting to as the technology improves and there's more money spent on it, we will get better visibility over some of that data. But it's like it's not like a 4-bedroom house on Smith Street in Carlingford. It's every property is different. It's a different size. It has a different access point. It's unless you're talking about industrial, which is much more vanilla and lineal. Everything is different, and so there's different methodologies of looking at it. But every time we appraise something, it's a considerable amount of time that goes into it to try and do it. You can't just go. I mean, I've done it for long enough now where I can sort of look at something and go, look, I think it's probably worth around this, and I'm probably not too far off often. But yeah, I think as time goes on, it will become more transparent, and I think people will very much work towards that. But it's certainly nowhere near residential.
And that allows the real experts to thrive.
For sure, because you have to know your subject matter.
So what's next for you? Like you're dominating Railway Western Sydney, you're dominating the corridor there. Like where does it go for you guys next? What's on the horizon? Is there any breaking news for us to asking?
No, look, I think we've got a lot of room to continue to grow in Western Sydney, and I think it's sort of we really need to just keep doing what we're doing, work from the fundamentals that we've created. We've got a really good, solid base to work from. And I think it's very much just, double down on that. We've really increased our marketing budget for the next financial year because we want to keep doing what we're doing, but we want to do more of it, because we can see that it's working. The more people who we can get in front of, the more people we can help. And so I don't think we need to reinvent ourselves. I think there's plenty of opportunity where we are. More specialization in certain areas, a bigger push into industrial where there's a wide open market. Asset management's a huge one for us moving forward because of the fact that, we can manage a service station, a childcare centre, an office building, a retail shopping centre. The larger businesses, they're built for an institutional grade investment, whereas we're built for a private high net worth. And, these people are very sophisticated and they want the service opposite them to be the same. And so one of our big goals this year is to grow that side of the business and to be helping more people, in Western Sydney maximise their asset values.
Now we're at Connect, biggest conference in Australia, Railway Conference.
Epic.
One thing that you've picked up at Connect? There's been several themes and things happening, but is there anything that stood out for you?
Boris Groysberg spoke yesterday, who I find incredibly fascinating from an intellectual perspective, and I think that he did a case study around JFK and the Bay of Pigs and the Cuban Missile Crisis. I think the ability to self-reflect, but also to lead from a position where, not everybody will stay the same and continue to make the same decisions. We need to, as a leader, kind of encourage people to buy in and also to speak up when they don't believe that something is the right course of action. I think, even as a leader, to be self-reflective is incredibly important about the good decisions, but also the bad decisions as well. And just use that as an area for self-improvement. But like when I walked into that conference room yesterday, seeing those 3,000 people there, it's like, what a beast of a brand that we belong to. And just, the people who are leading it, they're incredible people. The humbleness. I went to Shed the other day as well, which was
did you?
amazing. Yeah.
Did you get the helicopter back or?
No. I private jet. No. Don't like helicopters or something, I think. But just, from the humble beginnings that they've come from, like that's a real kind of an experience in itself.
Yeah.
And then, here we are today.
Here we are. My final question to you is, what does success look like for you?
I don't think there's a destination for success. I think for me personally, success is about living a fulfilled life where, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, because I don't believe we ever truly arrive. I don't think, particularly as a salesperson, it's probably never enough. And so if you enjoy the path and the passage and the process.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's not all about business for me. You know, like I have a beautiful family. I've got great mates. I enjoy sport. Like, you know, I have to have more than just what I do. I don't want that to just define me. And so success is probably trying to have a kind of nice balance of all of those, but just, you know, enjoying my life, the small things.
Well, congrats on everything that you've achieved.
And to you, my friend.
You're dominating, and you're dominating in class and style, and love watching your journey in the last 6 years. So
Thank you so much.
congratulations, and thank you for being on Call Me Successful today.
Appreciate you having
Thank
me.
you.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.